Now we're finding out maybe the best NBA trainer in the absolute business would like to train Caitlin Clark this offseason.
So it looked like famed NBA trainer Chris Brickley has broken his silence about Caitlin Clark and potentially working with her to make a healthy recovery.
Caitlin Clark just made a move that has her competition shaking. She's been spotted training with Chris Brickley, the legendary NBA coach who's kept LeBron James and Kevin Durant performing at elite levels well into their late 30s. After a season derailed by injuries, Clark is leveling up her training in ways the WNBA has never seen before. Her rivals should be worried because she's coming back different. Do you think working with an elite NBA trainer gives Caitlin Clark an unfair advantage over other WNBA players?
This is what I like to hear. This is what I like to hear. I'm all in. I'm all in on this move. I've been saying I want to see Caitlin Clark train with some new higher level elite training. I want her to get the hell away from Indiana as far as training. I don't want her practicing with Stephanie White. I don't want her working with the Indiana Fever training staff, even though they're getting a new senior advisor and all that. I don't want none of that. I think there's a few things that Caitlin, if she add these few things to her bag, she's definitely unstoppable. Chris Brickley, legendary NBA trainer working with the likes of Carmelo Anthony. When y'all saw Carmelo Anthony lose all that weight and get in shape, Hoodie Melo, he worked with Carmelo Anthony, Jimmy Butler, Donovan Mitchell, Trae Young, LeBron James.
Chris Brickley expressing interest in training Caitlin Clark this offseason is the kind of news that should have WNBA players losing sleep. For those who don't know who Brickley is, let me educate you real quick. This guy isn't just good, and he's not just well-known. He's one of the most respected private trainers in all of basketball. Not just talented, but legitimately one of the best in the business. His client list reads like a Hall of Fame roster. LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Carmelo Anthony, and countless other NBA legends have trusted him with their bodies and their careers. Now, he wants to work with Clark, and the implications are massive.
That specific team.
Yes.
So
yeah. You just called it.
Sometimes
some teams are like, no,
they've got
you need
people
to be with me a year for the first 3 years. This is happening with me and Caitlin Clark. So Caitlin Clark finished her rookie season. We've been talking for a few years, and
you worked with Caitlin Clark?
So we were going to work last summer, but I was gonna have to go to Indianapolis, and I respected when you're young on your team.
Brickley recently went on a podcast and spoke openly about his desire to train Caitlin Clark. He mentioned that they'd been in contact for a few years and almost worked together last offseason, but the timing just didn't work out. Clark was expected to train at the Indiana Fever's practice facility, as most young players typically do, staying local, working with team staff, and building chemistry within the organization. Brickley respected that decision and didn't push the issue. But now, after the absolute disaster of Clark's injury-plagued season, he's hoping she'll come to New York this offseason and get some real work in.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping now this offseason,
I love it.
I'm hoping that she'll come to New York and we'll get some work in. She's the reason why the WNBA has become so big. I would love to work with her.
Yeah.
She's an amazing talent. She's changed the game.
She has absolutely changed.
Yeah.
Women's sports
for sure.
Just
and I love
generally
competitiveness too.
Oh man, I know she's. That's the other piece too. That it's okay for women to be competitive.
The timing of this is perfect because Clark desperately needs to change something about her training approach. The 2025 season was a nightmare for her. She only played 13 games out of the entire regular season because of injuries. 13 games. For someone who is supposed to be the face of the league, who brought unprecedented attention and revenue to the WNBA, and who is expected to build on a strong first season, that's catastrophic. Something went seriously wrong with how her body was prepared and maintained, and it's pretty obvious the Fever's training staff didn't do her any favors. Let's talk about what actually happened with Clark's training leading into this season. She hit the weight room hard during the previous offseason. She added muscle, got stronger, and looked physically different when the season started. A lot of people thought that was the right move since she took so much physical punishment during her first year. Opponents were allowed to beat her up with minimal consequences from referees, so bulking up seemed like a logical response. But here's the problem. Adding muscle without the right training methodology, without understanding how that added mass affects movement patterns and joint stress, can actually make you more injury-prone. That might be exactly what happened. Clark suffered a groin injury that kept her out for most of the season. Groin injuries are often linked to muscle imbalances, flexibility issues, or trying to move explosively with a body that's changed too quickly. When you add significant muscle mass in a short period of time, your nervous system and connective tissues need time to adapt. If you don't give them that time, if you just jump right into explosive basketball movements, asterisk injuries happen. That's basic sports science, which the Fever's training staff apparently either didn't know or didn't implement properly. This is where someone like Chris Brickley becomes invaluable. He's not just a strength coach or a skills trainer. He's a comprehensive performance specialist who understands how to keep elite athletes healthy and performing at the highest level for as long as possible. Look at his track record. LeBron James is going to be 41 years old this season, and he's still playing at an elite level. Kevin Durant is 37 and remains one of the most dangerous scorers in basketball. Carmelo Anthony played until he was 37 and was still contributing 26 minutes per game in his final season. That longevity doesn't happen by accident. It's the result of smart, science-based training that prioritizes long-term health and performance. Brickley's approach clearly works because his clients stay healthy and productive deep into their 30s, which is extremely rare in professional basketball. Most players start declining in their early 30s as their bodies break down from years of punishment. But Brickley's clients seem to age in reverse. They're playing longer, staying healthier, and maintaining elite performance while their peers are retiring or becoming role players. If Clark can tap into that knowledge and methodology, she could extend her career by years and avoid the injury issues that derailed this season. The fact that Brickley is actively pursuing the opportunity to work with Clark says a lot about how he views her potential. He doesn't need her name for credibility. His resume speaks for itself. He's worked with the biggest stars in basketball. He doesn't chase clients for clout. So when he goes on a podcast and says he'd love to work with Clark, that she's changed the game and is the reason the WNBA has become so big, that's genuine respect from someone who knows greatness when he sees it. He recognizes that Clark is special and wants to be part of helping her reach her full potential. Some fans are apparently viewing this as a negative, which is absolutely wild to me. Why would working with arguably the best trainer in basketball be anything other than a massive positive? The only explanation I can think of is that people either don't understand who Brickley is or what he brings to the table, or they're so invested in defending the Fever organization that they can't admit the team's training staff failed Clark this season. Because let's be real, they absolutely failed her. She came into the season supposedly in peak condition, and her body broke down after just 13 games. That's a failure of preparation and management. The Fever organization as a whole doesn't inspire much confidence right now. Their medical staff has been questionable, their training protocols clearly didn't work, and their injury reporting was vague and inconsistent throughout the season. They don't seem to have the infrastructure or expertise to properly support a player of Clark's caliber and importance. She needs access to the absolute best resources available, and if those resources aren't in Indianapolis, then she needs to go where they are. That might mean training in New York with Brickley for significant portions of the offseason. One interesting detail from Brickley's podcast appearance is that he also trains Angel Reese. Some people might use that as a criticism, like, why would Clark want to work with her rival's trainer? But that's actually another point in Brickley's favor. Professional trainers often work with multiple clients, even from competing teams. That's normal and expected. The fact that Reese trusts him enough to handle her training shows that players across the league recognize his value. And honestly, Brickley can't work miracles. He's a phenomenal trainer, but he can't turn players into something they're not. The results depend on each player's talent, work ethic, and coachability. The contrast between how Clark's season went and how it could have gone with better training is stark. She was supposed to build on a strong first year, take her game to the next level, and establish herself as the undisputed best player in the league. Instead, she spent most of the season rehabbing and watching from the sidelines while her team struggled without her. That's not just disappointing for her personally, it's bad for the entire league. The WNBA needs Clark healthy and playing because she's the primary driver of fan interest and revenue growth. Her absence hurt attendance, viewership, and the overall quality of competition. Going forward, Clark needs to take control of her own career in ways she maybe hasn't before. She's been loyal to the Fever organization, working with their staff and following their guidance. But after this season's results, that loyalty might be misplaced. She needs to prioritize working with the best people available, regardless of whether they're affiliated with her team. If that means spending significant time in New York training with Brickley, that's what she should do. If it means bringing in outside consultants for nutrition, recovery, or mental performance, she should do that too. Her career is too important to leave in the hands of people who've already proven they can't protect her health. The physical demands of professional basketball are intense, and the WNBA schedule doesn't give players much time to recover between seasons. Clark needs a training approach that prepares her body for that grind while also building an appropriate recovery and maintenance system. Brickley's track record suggests he understands that balance better than almost anyone. His clients play heavy minutes deep into the playoffs year after year without breaking down. That's exactly what Clark needs if she's going to have a long, successful career. There's also the mental and emotional benefit of working with someone who's trained the absolute best players in the world. Brickley has seen what greatness looks like up close. He knows what separates good players from legends. He can provide perspective and guidance that go beyond just physical training, helping Clark learn how to manage her body over a long career, handle the pressure and expectations that come with being a superstar, and continue improving even as the competition adjusts to her strengths. That mentorship aspect is almost as valuable as the physical work itself. The competitive advantage Clark would gain from working with Brickley should terrify her rivals. She's already the most skilled offensive player in the WNBA. Her shooting range, court vision, and ability to create for herself and others are unmatched. Now imagine if she stays healthy for a full season. If her body is prepared to handle the physical punishment without breaking down, if she comes back with improved strength and explosiveness that's properly integrated into her movement patterns, she'd be absolutely unstoppable. Other players already struggle to contain her. A healthier, more physically dominant version of Clark would be a nightmare matchup for everyone. Some of the best players in WNBA history never worked with trainers at Brickley's level because those resources weren't as available or emphasized in women's basketball. Clark now has the opportunity to access training methods and expertise that previous generations couldn't. That's not unfair. That's just smart. She's using every resource available to maximize her potential. Other players should be doing the same instead of complaining that she's getting advantages they're not pursuing themselves. The financial aspect of this is worth considering too. Working with elite private trainers is expensive. Brickley doesn't publish his rates, but based on his client list and reputation, you can assume they're significant. Clark can afford it because of her Nike deal and endorsement money, which gives her resources most WNBA players don't have. That's an uncomfortable reality of professional sports. The stars who earn the most can invest more in their development, which helps them stay on top. It's a cycle that's hard for others to break, but that's capitalism and sports. The best get rewarded with more opportunities to get better. Nike and LeBron's involvement add another interesting angle. Clark has a signature shoe deal with Nike, and LeBron has been publicly supportive of her throughout her career. It would make perfect sense for Nike to facilitate or even fund training with Brickley as an investment in one of their most valuable athletes. LeBron could easily make an introduction and put his endorsement behind it. That kind of backing from the biggest name in basketball would be huge for Clark and would send a message to the WNBA that she's operating at a different level than everyone else. The Fever organization should actually be encouraging this, not being territorial about where and how Clark trains. Their job is to help her be the best player she can be, not to control every aspect of her development. If working with Brickley in New York during parts of the offseason makes her better and healthier, the Fever benefit from that when the season starts. They get a more prepared, more durable version of their franchise player. Fighting that or being resistant to outside help would be short-sighted and stupid, which, unfortunately, means there's a decent chance they'll do exactly that based on how they've handled things so far. Caitlin Clark working with Chris Brickley changes everything for next season. She's accessing elite training that most WNBA players never get. After a season ruined by injuries,